Hello and welcome back to another Autodesk Inventor tutorial series video, and today we're going to be learning about this tool right here, the emboss feature, as well as talking about text. So what is embossing? So embossing is you're basically creating a text and then you're going to be raising that text a certain height, and then debossing is the opposite of that. It's going to be decreasing that a certain amount of height, and here is kind of an example. So embossed is raising, debossed is lowering. So let's jump back. So this is kind of just a little jar that I've kind of made, something like this. Could hold whatever. And we're going to start debossing this. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and say, okay, so it creates a raised or recessed feature from a profile. Okay, yes, we already know that. So let's go ahead and click this and see what happens. So it says no valid closed loops found in Sketch for building a profile. So this is a common problem, is that people just want to go straight in here and emboss, but what you need to do is you need to first create something to emboss. So you can't make the stuff that you want to emboss in the embossing feature. You need to make the items first, and then you can click the emboss tool to emboss. So we're going to go over here, we're going to make a sketch on top of the jar, and we're going to go over here and click text. So it says add text to the active sketch. So we're just going to go ahead and click right here, and we're going to type sample text. And we can see here this looks a little bit complicated, so let's see here. If we click these buttons, nothing seems to happen. If we click 0.3, again, nothing seems to happen, which is incredibly weird. And the reason why is because you need to highlight this, and then you can make your changes, like so. So that's very important. It's kind of like a weird little feature, is that if you don't specify exactly what you want, changed, it won't do anything at all, if that makes sense. So once again, we're just going to change this back to sample text and default that back to 1.2, like so. And we're going to hit OK. And there we go. So there's our first little bit of text, and we can drag this around and move it to where we want it. So we're just going to put it here for right now, but we want to make this look really nice. So let's say that this is a jelly bean jar. So we're going to hit delete, and then we're going to come back over here, and then we're going to say jelly bean. We're just going to say jelly beans, and then we're going to come over here. We're going to make this really, really big, like so. And we'll put this right smack in the middle, and we'll hit finish. And then we're going to come back to our 3D model, hit our emboss tool, and now we don't get that warning anymore, because there is a feature available that we could emboss or deboss. So if we want to emboss it, we can make the depth a little bit smaller, let's say 0.05. Obviously, when you looked at that picture before, it didn't rise very much, so 0.05 should be fine in my opinion. There we go. So it says jelly beans. Now if we want to deboss it, then we can just go back, hit Control Z, and click this tool right over here. And there we go. Now that text is debossed. But that's not the only tool that we can get from this. So let's go back to the sketch. Let's hit delete. And I do apologize if I sound a little congested. I've been having a little bit of allergies. But we'll come back over here. We'll hit geometry text. And what this does, it allows us to create text that wraps around a surface. So we can see right here, okay, why can't I click any of this? Now the reason is because on this sketch, so far, nothing is made yet. So if you remember back a couple of episodes ago, we talked about project geometry. We need to project one of these other sketches, geometries, onto this current sketch. So we're going to come over here, we're just going to hit that, and now the yellow circle is highlighted and we have projected the geometry onto this sketch. And now we can hit geometry text and we can hit one of these little green items. So we're going to say once again jelly bean. We're going to say jelly bean jar. And we can make this larger. So that is not what we want, obviously. That pops up on the outside of it, and if we use geometry text, since it is a wraparound, it no longer is draggable. So how do we fix this then? There's a couple ways that we can do it. We can either flip it around and update, so that essentially puts it down into the circle, which is what we want, but now the text is backwards and it's upside down. So first of all, to fix that problem, we're going to flip it the other way, update. So now our text is not backwards anymore, but it is still upside down. So to fix that, we can just use the start angle and we can bring it back down. We can just kind of mess with it. So 270 degrees, which way does it go? It goes that way, so that's obviously too far. Let's change it to 180 degrees. Okay, a little bit more, 150. There we go. And we can hit OK, and then there's our text. But let's say that's not what we want. Let's say we want this text to be up here. We want it to be up here like this on the inside. So what we need to do then is to create a circle. We're going to use our construction line so that it doesn't add anything to the feature, but we can still use that geometry text feature. So we need to see over here. So the radius of this circle is approximately 0.4091, and if our text is going to be, once again, let's just see what our text is going to be. Okay, if the size of it is going to be 0.240, that means that the radius of the circle, we need to account for both sides, which means that we need to take away 0.48. So we'll just round it up to 0.5, just so that everything fits properly. So what we can do is then we can come up here, we can make the circle. Once again, it is a construction circle, and make sure we get to that snapping point up here, assuming my mouse doesn't slip. There we go. So we have 0.0491, and we can just do minus 0.5. That way we don't need to pull out a calculator and calculate exactly how much that is. So there we go. This is our new circle where we're going to wrap our geometry text around. Once again, we're going to say jelly bean jar, and we're going to make this size, hit OK, and there we go. It now fits at the top perfectly. And once again, we're going to use our starting angle. Let's say 30 degrees. Let's update. Okay, 650. And a little bit more, so let's say 55. Too far. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, I'm okay with that. And of course, you can change your font. So if we don't want this Tahoma font, we can do UGothic, update. Then it looks like that. So the point is, you can change it to any font that's available within the library. You can also stretch this, let's say 50%. That now compresses it a little bit. If we wanted it to be 200, we can make that really, really large, but for now I just want this as 100. And for the size, you're not constrained to this size. You can make it 1 inch, so that makes it, oops, sorry about that. I guess it's not going to, there we go. So makes it super huge, but you don't want that. Let's back to 0.40. And this tool is a little bit finicky sometimes, so just be patient with it. And you can also use an offset distance where you can put in negative distance, like so, or positive distance, which brings it onto the outside, but obviously we don't want that, so we're going to just bring it back to 0. And we're going to hit OK. So now our text is done, and we're going to hit our emboss tool. And I'm feeling a deboss, so we're going to hit deboss, hit OK. And there we go. Our jelly bean jar is now debossed onto the lid. But text is not the only thing that you can emboss or deboss. If you just create any sort of sketch, let's say that we want like a weird half arc thing embossed. So let's say it looks like a moon. We'll use the trim feature. We'll trim off this part. Hit finish. Emboss. And so any sort of shape can be embossed as well. So feel free to play around with this. And that's all for this lesson. And in the next one, we're going to be talking about lighting.